Welcome back to What You Will Learn. My name is Adam Ashton.
And my name is Adam Jones. We're about to take you through the best bits of 2021.
That's it.
Second half of the season.
Oh, Matt, I just saw your glass is empty.
No, I got it.
You got it.
I got
Nice.
a little seltzer.
Yeah, we're on the seltzer, and also we've regressed to the...
That was a very poor ching, man.
Cheers didn't sound good with the two cans. Yeah, we regressed. Last time we made the joke that we'd step back to the Johnny Black. We went one step back to the Johnny Red this time.
Yeah.
And the half-size bottle as well.
Yeah. In life, you sort of want to progress and sort of go from the red up to the blue and see colours beyond that. I'm not sure.
There must be.
There must be. Yeah. But we're going back the other way. We're going cheaper. Sooner we're going to be drinking, remember the old rice wine when we were in Lombok? We're going to be on the rice wine at one stage, I think.
That would have been the very first ever best of, I reckon.
Yeah, rice wine. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
That was in that room, which came up 12 months ago as well.
God, let's not go there.
Don't get that story.
I think we got a 1-star review.
We got a bad review, and
fair enough,
reasonable as well.
Yeah.
But we won't mention that story again unless you want to go back to the best of 2020. Yeah, the best of. We normally do our top 10 respectively from the last 6 months or so. A bit of preamble. The book, mate. The note says...
Book shit. Yeah.
Launched the book in June.
Well, we haven't had the chance to celebrate, really. We were talking about... We got smacked by lockdown laws.
Yeah. So we said when we launch the book, we'll do a big celebration. Got locked down, got let out. We'll do a big celebration. Got locked down again.
So I guess that's it tonight.
Tonight's a celebration.
Going to the casino, having a big night, and then going on to other endeavours later in the evening. So we'll see where that takes us.
I suppose it depends how we go at the casino.
Yeah.
We might be walking home.
Mate, well, the book's been above expectations, I'd say, for both of us. I mean, it's not Black Swan, fucking stick your finger up at everybody, drive a Lamborghini and, hang out with the Gates man and whatnot. It's not that level, but it's well and truly above expectations in how it's selling.
I would say the launch period probably met expectations and slightly exceeded, but the period post that definitely exceeded because I thought there'd be a big drop-off post-launch.
Well, that's what you want, isn't it? You want your product to it's in perennial seller, that's what it says. It's word of mouth is pretty much everything. So you can have this ignition on the fire at the very start and then it just fades away and no one knows about it.
Yep.
But I guess we had a little ignition at the start and then it's slowly been burning and growing.
That's right.
And then the feedback's been increasing as well. The more people who've read it, we're getting stronger and stronger feedback that it's been a super book.
The Lindy Effect says we've got about 5 months left in us. But if we get through those 5 months, then it becomes 10 months.
Yeah, there we go.
So,
never ending.
So hopefully it keeps going.
Have you ever taken that calculation to its very end? It goes to infinity for every single product.
If it lasts one day, then it should last another day. But then if it lasts 2 days, it lasts 4.
So it's pretty flawed, that whole idea. But
all you need to do is last for 1 minute, and then you can make it to infinity.
A second. All you need to do is launch something, and you've got something that's going to last longer than the whole entire universe. Anyway,
So
the
how
Lindy
did he die
Effect's
then?
good. Yeah, he's done. The bakery's done.
Oh, Lindy's done.
Lindy's dead. The bakery's gone. Lindy's wrong.
Poor Lindy.
Poor Lindy. Yeah.
What else, man? We get in the preamble. We had some bloody strong interviews. In the last 6 months.
Man. Best.
Kahneman, Pressfield, Green, and Holiday, with a few others as well. But I'd say Kahneman, Pressfield, and Holiday would have been 3 on our dream list for years, and Green obviously is number 1 as well to get him back for round 2 as well. So very fucking strong batch of interviews.
Out of all of them, I feel like Kahneman, before doing the podcast, was all right. Kahneman,
Nobel Prize winner. He's old.
Yeah. Hard to get, surely, on retirement, limited with his time, which he is. Very limited about who he chooses. So
of course.
To land Kahneman,
yeah. No, that was a good one.
Mate, that wasn't I don't think we've reflected enough on how cool it was to be able to speak to that dude.
And he was a legend as well. I don't know if we mentioned about how he was worried about the email, like 30 minutes before he was emailing us saying he was in a hotel and there was some drilling going on and he was worried for our sakes, and we're like, I don't care if you're fucking in a construction site, we'll still talk to you.
Yeah, he was
if you're the one on
legend.
the fucking jackhammer.
Yeah, 100%. And when we fucked up, like we were trying Riverside for the first time, not doing shit on Riverside, it's been pretty good since then. But yeah, we fucked up on our end. But he was just felt very bad for
Yeah.
the situation. We had to quickly jump on Zoom.
Yeah.
And it wasn't about him at all. It was about us, even though we're little plebs compared to the DK. He's got his shit sorted.
I couldn't believe it. We're just having our pre-chat. And it was all going well, going fine. We're like, okay, we'll hit record now. There's a countdown, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. As soon as we started talking, he was like, I can't hear you anymore. Just literally as soon as we hit record, our audio system just conked it. It was unbelievable. But we got there in the end.
Holiday, the other ones were good. Holiday was good other than the...
Your question?
have we spoken about this question to the audience?
Nah.
If anyone's listening to, they would have been hearing my question thinking, all right, Jonesy has got a wisdom bomb question which you can take down mountains. Asked the question, the build-up was beautiful. I was nodding my head as I said it with a smile.
You're patting yourself on the back.
I've said a good question then. And what was he come back with?
He said, he was basically just
what was the question?
The question, you said it was something around creating opportunities. Like, how did you know, he didn't take opportunities, but he created his own opportunities out of thin air. But there was more build-up to it. And, of course, he has. Like, he started very young, becoming the head of marketing at a big company, obviously writing books from an early age as well. And then you had like all these examples, and I think he was answering his email. He was looking at something off in the distance.
Mate, there was a few dings going on in the background. Like the old Outlook one.
I could just hear like in the background. And then you got to the end of the question. You asked the question, like, how do you do it? And he's like, yeah, that's what everyone does.
And that's what
that was it.
It was probably the worst answer to any question ever.
That was the answer.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be a staple of a few more interviews. That exact question.
Try and see if you can get a better answer to that same question.
Out of that question, I think.
Mate, also going back, this episode 12 months ago, best of 2020, I mentioned to you that it was ring time. Mate, fast forward 12 months. Mate, have you got any news?
Yeah, I got on the knee,
Ring
mate.
time.
Got on the knee. Got a ring.
Nice.
Got a bit of a diamond happening, and yeah, it's a big moment, isn't it? Like, I didn't think. No one really talks about that. Everyone talks about the wedding day, not the engagement moment. Like before it, it's like it's a much bigger deal than I probably anticipated. Quite emotional and all that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Do you want to give any more insight?
In what way?
I don't know. I remember Corey was just saying that there was lots of tears flowing from both sides before it had even happened.
Yeah, I was. We got a video of it. And the pitch of my inflection of my voice was.
Oh, really? I haven't seen this.
I'll show you the video later. I haven't showed like anyone really, but I'll show you the start of it. It's just me going, "Hey!" Like the inflection as she walked into the room, and the pitch I was talking at was B sharp, or what's the highest pitch?
It's very high. Yeah. What? There's no B sharp.
No,
Anyone who
I've
knows
seen The
music
Simpsons.
knows that there's no B sharp.
Okay.
I think that was kind of the joke
Eh?
of The Simpsons.
Okay.
She had no idea. She had no idea.
Nah, I think no.
But then as soon as she heard that voice, she would have known something was
No,
up.
she didn't. She didn't.
Okay.
I had it. I had it in a bag because it was a birthday using the cover. So I said, "Oh, here's your birthday present," and I had tissues in it and a big bag. And then she was driving her hand through it. She grabbed it and she thought it was earrings, even though it was like a ring box. You saw like a bit of glimmer of hope in her eyes, and then it's just a earring or something.
This is going to be some big.
And then when I
cheap,
got on the
shitty
knee,
earrings.
she lost it.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's great. No, it is a good moment, isn't it?
It's exciting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
And mate, you got your 12 months ago, you were where I am now, and
That's right.
your actual marriage is a couple of
End of
6
Jan.
weeks away or something.
Yeah, end of Jan is the big day. Alison's been working hard planning. I've been supporting by saying, "Yep, those are good. Yep, let's go with
actor.
that. Yep, that's good.
Yep.
Yep, I agree. Yep." So I've been
Basically
very
adding nothing. Given nothing.
But no, looking forward to it. Should be good. And then before then as well, obviously the Bucks party between now and then as well. So that should
Which
be
you
good
don't
fun.
know what's happening.
I've got no idea what's
Nige
happening.
dropped it on you the other day. I
Yeah,
was a bit stressed about that.
Made the Facebook message group thread. You thought
Yeah.
it all had been revealed, but no, I was
Mate,
in
we've
and
got a
out.
few secrets
Oh shit!
prepared for you.
Oh god!
Don't you worry.
Will those be coming up in the next best of, or are they just for
The next best of.
what
they'll
goes
pop
on
up. Well,
Bucks stays on Bucks?
nah, I think they'll come up. They'll come up.
Fuck, I'm nervous now.
You might not have in 12 months' time, it might be more somber on the relationships front. after we drop what's going to happen. But that's all right.
There may not be a wedding if
Correct.
sounds of it.
It's all over, mate, after this Bucks.
Oh my God.
Yeah, should be worried.
Mate, is that enough preamble? I think it probably is.
It's probably a record preamble.
They're probably sick of.
I can imagine
15
people
minutes of us talking shit.
I listen to podcasts when people preamble. And this is why we never preamble,
Yeah,
right? Like,
never. We're always straight into it.
because we hate. I actually fucking hate, man. Podcasts that preamble for like we have today.
People who think that they're fucking so important that people want to hear what shit they're talking.
Exactly the sort of shit we've been
Exactly
speaking
what
about
we've
now.
been doing.
I hate it. That's why we never do it. But we let ourselves. We don't
Twice
give
a year, the best of the season and the best of the year.
Yeah.
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 Well, mate, I reckon it's probably before we get into the 10. Your drink's probably nearly empty, so we should quickly refuel and then we'll get back into the top 10.
I might do a whiz as well.
Of course. Mate, even after all that preamble, we didn't even mention the burgers. Every best of a burger comes up. The burger has not been consumed yet. It's coming later.
It's coming later.
We're recording a bit earlier this year.
We are, yeah. That's late arvo. So, mate, we're about to get into our top 10 for both of us for the half season. Before we get into that, we always do a bit of honourable mentions. Some good books. For me, it was a very strong season. Like, extremely strong, man. Like, it's hard. Like a book I'm about to say is the first one, which Drama of the Gifted Child. It'll be like, surely that's a top 6. It's a powerful book. Not making my top 10 this year.
Wow. So that's an honourable. I even had, there's been times where I've struggled to get to the top 10. And I think maybe the last one we did, I had like a 6 or 7 and then I was just sort of padding out the 10. I've got a lot of honourables this time. I feel like What I Know for Sure, Oprah Winfrey, Think Again, Adam Grant, which is probably a lot of people love that book.
Neither of us.
Neither of us. That's an honourable for both of us.
Jesus.
New Ryan Holiday book, Courage is Calling, didn't get near my top 10. That's probably
Jesus.
probably wouldn't even, maybe not in the top 15 even of this season. So that's a strong season.
Think Again probably should have got in mine in retrospect. I remember one season I forgot Sapiens, and those are my favourite books of all time.
Yeah,
Sometimes
you probably need another look. I've got 2 super painful honourable mentions. Man's Search for Meaning isn't in my top 10.
Well, that's coming up later.
Yeah, but
So this is honourable mentions, as in it doesn't come up later. But for you, it was painful.
Okay, that's like a painful one not to get in the top 10 because it was whenever we previously did it, because this is the second time we've done it, definitely would have been in the top 10.
Fuck. That's insane.
You know what's the most ridiculous for both of us? Not in either of our top 10? Noise, Daniel Kahneman.
Oh, shit.
That
Did I
is
put that in my top 10?
It's your honor. You put it's in here. It's an honourable for
God.
AJ. Honourable mention Noise. AA painful honourable mention Noise.
Just after we were pumping his tyres up, which was a bloody good book.
When we
I
read
gave it
Noise,
5 stars.
Yeah, same. We read Noise. Second episode of this season. I would have been like instantly top 3. Definitely top 3 for this season, and it didn't even make the top 10.
So
It was incredible, man. Noise.
Jeez.
Fucking Daniel Kahneman. We interviewed
Yeah.
the Nobel Prize winner, and neither of us put it in our
and
top
it's
10.
phenomenal. Like people are going to be spruiking the word noise like they're spruiking System 1 and 2, like thinking fast
Yeah.
and slow. And rightly so. I've been spruiking it. I've been
Noise
sounding
is a
super
fantastic
smart saying, hey,
concept.
that's just a noisy thing you're saying there, Jimmy.
Yeah, he talked about, like, Think Fast and Slow is all about bias, like errors in decision making because of bias. If you're shooting at the target at archery and you're always missing off to the left, that's bias. Noise is when you're just all over the shop, a little bit left, a little bit high, a little bit low, a little bit off to the right. That's noise. Fantastic concept. And neither of us got it in the top 10.
Well, let's get into the
Actually,
top
maybe
10.
we should. I want to change mine. It should get
I
in
want to
there.
change mine because I'm looking at my 10 now and noise is better than this one.
Okay,
So
we'll
I'll
get
go
into the
into
top
it.
10.
10 is noise. No, I'm kidding. 10 is Karma.
Also a good book. That'd be hard to not get in the top 10.
Phenomenal book by Sadhguru. Very wise man. Like, it's very good to just get some of the weirdest, interesting minds on the planet, put what they think of a concept right into a book. And in this case, karma, because I think the conception I had previously, like a lot of people, is very different to what it actually is. Like, he uses the metaphor. It's a bit like an old software you've written for yourself unconsciously, like a CD player. You put your karmic imprint on the CD player, life hits play, and then the same thing goes around and sort of happens. Or it's also a bit like a smell, right? So, like, rather than the world sort of, you know, if you do something bad, the world's going to smack you up because of it. It's more like the proactivity idea that what you've done previously as sort of your habits, imprints on this CD what's going to happen, and the world sort of responds to what you've imprinted on that CD. So it's very close to normal habit books that we've seen, and links karma in that sense.
It was a very different, I think just the obvious Western karma view is what goes around comes around. You do something good happens to you. You do something bad happens to you. Very simplistic view. This was like a much...
Practical.
Yeah. This is a very deep one. And then karma, the thing I remember, it's always interesting going back, like what actually do you remember from the book from the last 6 months? The thing that I remember was the story that he had of the two people going to see the prostitute. And then they were walking to go see the prostitute. And then at the same time, they heard there was a church service on at the same time. One person went to the church service because he said, I can't do this to my wife and my family. I can't go and see a prostitute. I should honor God. I should go to the church. But while he was sitting in that church service, he was really wishing that he'd gone and seen the prostitute. Alternatively, one guy went to see the prostitute, the physical act with the prostitute, but he was thinking, man, I wish I'd have gone to church instead. And Sadhguru was saying, the guy, like you've got the physical karma, you've also got like the mental and emotional karma as well. So he's saying almost the person who went to church but wished he'd gone to see the prostitute, that's almost worse than the person who went to the prostitute and wished they'd gone to church.
Yeah, well, that's a whole different idea, is the mental karma. I'm doing it a million times. You're almost better off obviously being released from both of them, where you don't feel like you have to see the prostitute necessarily whatsoever, right?
But probably the best case is going to church and enjoying church and then living a whole life of that sort of But it was an interesting take,
interesting concept. Yeah. What's yours, 10, Ashton?
Number 10, the Peter Principle, the last ep of this season, a little short one, and a little short, simple book. One concept, kind of written in a half. He tried to make it funny. It was a little bit funny, but it wasn't really that funny. Almost like a little bit ironic funny. But just saying that the Peter Principle is that basically, if you're good, you get a promotion. And you get to another job, and if you're good, you get a promotion, and eventually you get to the point where you're not good anymore. Yeah. Basically, you get promoted, and when you're not good anymore, you stop getting promoted, so that everybody gets promoted to the point where they're no longer good at their job. So basically, you just fill up with everybody's shit at their job.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal idea. I love like the start of it, right? The idea that everyone's shit at the job, I don't necessarily believe, but it explains, when you ask yourself, why is someone so shit in that position? It's because of the Peter Principle. So it's not, I don't think it's fully reflective of every single job in society, but there are obviously some extremely incompetent people in high-end jobs, but this explains that they're probably, they were good at the job previously, so they got the promotion, and now, probably where I disagree with the Peter Principle, if they were extremely, extremely, extremely shit, they'd probably get the boot, but their incompetence probably the word, right?
Incompetent, yeah. If you're really, really shit, you probably do get the ask. If you're just like medium, or like a bit below medium. You're probably not like quite...
D graders, not F graders, but D or E graders.
Yeah, you're not bad enough to get the arse, but you're definitely not good enough to even do your job, let alone move up. Yeah. But I think the main thing was like every time you move up, the job changes a bit. Like he was talking about, you start off he was a school teacher originally. So you start off as a student. If you're a good student, you become a teacher. If you're a good teacher, then you become a head of the department, which is different from a teacher. Like teacher, their job is to teach. Head of the department, you've got to organise other teachers. You've got to organise budgets. It changes a fair bit. And then if you're really good at that, then you become a principal. Now you've got to manage community expectations. You've got to do all these different groups, all these different board meetings. Like the job changes every time you move up. And that's why people, if they're good at the lower level job, they move up, the job changes. That's why they're no longer good at the job.
Mate, that came up in book that's going to probably come up at some stage, Essays of Warren Buffett.
Oh, yeah.
But he talks about like why he doesn't trust CEOs managing capital for that reason. It's because like investing, because they got up from being engineers and doing other skills, and then like why would we trust them with investing capital, right? So
Makes sense.
There's like a lot of books, right? The best ones, they come up in multiple different ways, pointing at the same sort of direction, and that is definitely one of them. We'll get into my 9 number next.
Yeah.
The 5 levels of leadership.
John C. Maxwell.
Yeah. It's a good one. You don't have a lot to say about it, do you? You know.
I really like the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership that we did.
Yeah.
And then I think it's probably a lot like a lot of the books. It's like, if I'd have read this one before the other one, I probably would have loved this. But because I read the other one first, I like that one better.
Mate, I think it's a really, really strong leadership book, because you can sort of like put yourself on where you are in this process, and sort of, if you're, we'll go through them. So like level 1's position. So you get promoted, you're in a position where you're managing different people. That's it. That's where a lot of people get to.
Yeah, people rely on the job title. If you're the manager, so you're the leader only purely because you can say, hey, I'm your boss, so you do what I tell you.
And probably not everyone gets to that, right? Like 50%. But then the next one's permissions. Like you're at the boss and people like you, so they go, all right, we're going to fucking go where you want to go. And that's probably a good chunk of everyone, right? Not many people get to that point. It's been rare for my personal managers to be at that point. Level 3 is production, which is even rarer because that's where you actually get your team who like you from level 2 now to actually going and being producing shit. You're getting shit done. You're being effective.
Right. That's right. It's a big step up, a big difference.
Yeah, because that's, as you know, rarer. And level 4, I think, is like... people development. So
almost unheard of, isn't it?
Almost unheard of. Where you're focusing as a leader and developing the people below you, they're getting better. And as they get better, your results get better. And level 5 is the pinnacle, this is what he says. And this is where you're developing leaders. So you're a leader who develops other leaders. So in terms of the metaphor of spinning, what's the thing? Spinning.
I don't know what he's spinning.
Spinning.
I don't know. You're just wetting
Spinning
your
plates.
finger in.
Let's say you're spinning a plate. You can spin maybe 6 plates by yourself.
Yeah.
And if you walk away to go get a coffee, some plates are going to fall down. Yeah. But if you train other people to be able to spin plates, that's level 4. But if you can train other people who can train other people to spin plates, that's where you're level 5.
There's going to be a fucking lot of plates spinning.
Mate, it's a
the whole world's going to be full of plates spinning.
It's a plate Armageddon.
I feel like I want to if you gave me the choice, you can read the 21 laws or the 5 levels. I would rather the 5 levels because it kind of gives you the framework of the 21 laws is just kind of a mix and match. Pick what you like, pick what you don't like. But the 5 levels is like you got to go through these 1 through 5. I probably like that better in concept. I read the other one first.
After reading it in my company, I kind of deliberately tried to skip a few. I'm probably not that liked.
I think you
but I try to do people development. I try to
build on each other.
I try to build a few people in there. Well, I tried to skip it. I don't know if it worked. I probably failed at all this. Anyway, I started to try and train people, thinking I'm a big Maxwell level 4 dude. But anyway, pump my own tires.
Did it work or not?
No, it all fell flat. What's your number 9?
Oh my goodness, my number 9 I had to get a Gladwell in there. The Tipping Point. I'd say when I read it, it was probably one of the least favorite Gladwell books we've done. Probably because it's also the most well-known Gladwell book. So there's a lot of Socko Effect, a lot of everybody likes it, so I kind of don't want to like it. But I think the core is good. Like what a message is spread, and he broke down the 3 different elements. You've got the messenger, the message, and the context. And that messenger is really important. Like who's actually spreading this message? There's, if Johnny from the street is telling you to do something, you're probably not going to do it. But if someone else who's high power, I don't know, who's not John, who's the opposite of Johnny from the street?
Craig.
Susie from the penthouse apartment. If she's telling you, then you're probably listening. So I think that was an important one. And he had the context of the HIV epidemic in the 1980s, and he was talking about the gonorrhea epidemics and how they spread, and how 6% of the geographical area accounted for half of the infections, and then he broke it down even further that 25% of the cases came from 6 individual bars of people intermingling and spreading diseases and stuff. So just that if you can find that really core few that are going to infect a lot of people, obviously not with gonorrhea or HIV, but with your idea, then that's what you want.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a very profound book pre-social media, which is when he wrote it, right?
Yeah. This is in the 90s he wrote it, yeah?
Yeah, which is insane. But after social media, it's so obvious. Like when you're reading it, he's talking about influencers here.
Yeah.
That it's not profound, but before that it wasn't so obvious, right? And the whole world is run a good part by that first thing you said, which is the messenger.
And then also the message, making the message stick, and the difference between an important message that everybody should know about that nobody knows about compared to, a good message that's really well crafted. It's got all those elements that make it stick. And he was talking about how even shows like Sesame Street and Blue's Clues, how they were it seems like a really simple, basic kids show, but they worked so hard. They worked relentlessly to really drill down to put in very specific elements that made those ideas stick and made those ideas spread.
Mate, my number 8 is No Rules Rules by Reed Hastings and Aaron Myers. Great duo who put this book together. You're Reed, who started Netflix, and then also Aaron, who comes from INSEAD, which is one of the best business schools in the world. So I think it was a good dynamic they had in writing the book. But I love the 3 elements they came up with. It's always quite arbitrary when someone takes all their life experience and puts it into 3 things, buckets, but it's pretty much the only way you can take 3 memorable things out of all their experience. So they got to do something like that.
I even like the structure of the book, which we didn't do in our episode, but they did in the book, how there was the 3 elements and they kind of spiraled around 3 times to get deeper and deeper within those 3 elements. We kind of restructured it to make more sense in our episode to just be the 3 elements. But yeah, I did really like the structure of this book.
Yeah, I really loved it also. So number 1 is like getting to the talent density. So they really explained very well why you don't want duds on your team.
Yeah.
You don't want D graders. You don't want even B graders. You want everyone A graders.
Yeah.
And if you got a team of A graders and you're paying them, say, 5 times the amount of salary as you would otherwise, you're going to be much more productive as a team.
Yeah, they said just all those interactions between the top of the top of the top is just very different. If you got the top and then you got a couple of, they're pretty good. It's very different, which was an interesting take. Just like the interactions, the things that they bounce off each other, the different ideas that can be generated, the productivity, the amount of work they can do, the quality of work they can do is very different from everyone who's really, really good compared to superstars.
Yeah, and it totally makes intuitive sense, I think, from your own anecdotal experience when you got people operating at a high level in the same room, what you can get done compared to if it was the other way around. Like us two there, Ashton. Is that what you... Yeah.
Well, if you think of, Miami Heat, you had Chris Bosh, you had Dwayne Wade, you had LeBron James. Like you got all these A+++ graders. Like, yeah, maybe they took a little bit of time to work out the flow and work out who's the top dog and work out how they can work together. But once they started working together, that talent density really took off.
That's it, mate. What's your one? Number 8.
Number 8. Oh, Do the Work, Stephen Pressfield. Obviously, the War of Art. Phenomenal, Turning Pro, phenomenal. And then this was kind of like the next addition to that, Do the Work. Got to interview him, which was probably one of the guys that on the list of dream guests would be very high up that we've been kind of chasing for a little while. And this was like much more of the War of Art, Turning Pro, they were kind of more of a philosophical or theoretical approach. The Do the Work was more the get down and dirty. Here's exactly how you do it step by step type of book. Yeah,
and I think one of my highlights was just probably his story because he practiced what he preaches. He was a failure, even in his own words, until he was like 40. He was,
I think, even
later, right? Like he was having a crack at stuff the whole time, sort of following what his dream was. And so many people would give up and say, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna do the thing you're meant to do."
Yeah.
And I'm just so happy that he did what he did and he landed his first book, which was War of Art, which absolutely killed it, obviously. Now he's one of the most famous authors of all time. But it is so closely related to what he preaches, and he got there that way.
Yeah, it's interesting I don't know. Imagine, I think he was like in his mid to late 50s when the first thing finally clicked. I could imagine looking at a bloke in their early 50s, still trying, still a lot of failing and looking down on that person.
Yeah, hanging
really
shit
looking
on
down
him,
that
judging
person.
on him, man.
But then the difference between like it finally worked and it finally clicked, and then for the next 2 decades he's been killing it. Internationally renowned books and movies and everything.
That's what gets me excited.
It'd be tough to keep
imagine
going.
that finger you stick up, like how good would that feel? And it's 2 decades. That finger, people looking down on you probably since 2 or 3 decades, right? Mid-20s maybe.
Yeah.
And just saying, fuck
it'd be
you.
Tough. I think it'd be tough to keep going at that if it wasn't working.
It would
keep
be
going for decades and decades and decades.
Yeah.
I mean, he was saying he was living in like a place with no plumbing, and he was just sitting with a typewriter, and there was a cat that would come over and would have a higher status in the pecking order than he would.
Well, that's like where because in his writing, when he says the War of Art, for him it's like he's actually struggling and fighting something, and there's almost pain in the way he writes, which I think is probably what he went through for those decades, and it comes out in his writing, and that's why we can take so much from it.
The one thing that he kind of talks about in the book, he talks about start before you're ready. As in, a lot of people are saying, I'm getting ready, I'm planning, I'm working, I'm practicing, I'm working it out, and never really start. He's saying you got to start before you're ready. And then he says, once you've done that thing, then you got to start the next thing. You got to start again before you're ready. This is probably where we're at now.
I agree.
I feel like we did the big book. It took us 18 months or 16 months to get that big 684 page, the shit they never taught you, up and out. We're probably at the point where it's like, okay,
100%
I'm not ready for the next thing, but maybe we should start before we're ready.
Maybe we should start tonight.
What? Maybe not tonight.
After, maybe not tonight.
Well, what's the next thing? I don't even know what it is.
We'll figure it out. Maybe by the end of this episode, we'll have a grand idea and inspirational hit us. No, but I totally agree with you, Asho.
That's what he said. He said he had, he'd been working on this. He said it's 17 years he'd been trying to write a novel, and he finally got to the point, even after multiple times where he got to 99.9% of the way through a novel, and then he just hit delete or shredded his papers or burnt them or whatever he did, and would literally blow up the novel. And he finally got to the point where he said, okay, I'm done. And he wanted to celebrate. He went to his mate's place, and his mate was like, cool, good stuff. Okay, time to start the next one. So it's kind of that's probably the point we're at now.
We'll do it. Okay, now my number 7. Painful bloody throwing this one at number 7.
7? This is low.
Search for meaning. This should be number 1, by the way.
Yeah,
but it's not.
And even for me, it probably should be.
Well, I think we both. I probably gave it a 10 out of 10. You probably gave it an 8 out of 10 or something.
Yeah.
Like when you read it, you put it like that. But then when you go to rank it against other books, it somehow ends up being different. So I don't know how the hell this is number 7. Man's Search for Meaning. It is one of the best books you'll ever read. It's one of those books everyone has to read. We'll both agree on that.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And it's probably, whenever we interview these superstar authors who we've been able to interview over the 5.5 years of the podcast, whenever we ask, what are your favorite books, what are your most influential books, this would probably be the one that gets the most mentions as well. Yeah, Man's Search for Meaning.
Well, I think meaning is something that is better than happiness. I prefer this sort of shit than happiness equation. Get going out and get happy, because I don't know, meaning's got this better feeling than just being this lovey-go happy, happy-go-lucky happy.
I think meaning could lead to happiness.
Well, no, I think it's I disagree.
Okay.
I disagree. It's totally different. But he says meaning can come through love, which isn't happiness. It can come through suffering. That's true. When you're doing hard shit, especially at the end of it, you're like, all right, that was meaningful. None of that was happiness.
It didn't feel good, did it? Yeah, suffering through it.
Or work, which is a similar sort of thing. It's like if you're working hard at something, launching a book, mate, our book wasn't happy.
No.
At all.
No.
But it's like, even after, it wasn't happy is probably not the right.
No,
it was meaning.
That's fucking deep. How come this isn't number 1? No, I think you're right. And obviously, for us, we're just talking about fucking writing a book, sitting in our nice air-conditioned, and we had the heater going, we had a nice comfy chair to sit on, we had access to electricity and internet. All we had to do was wake up a little bit early and type on the laptop. It wasn't that hard. Compared to him. He's waking up in frostbitten, people literally tweezering off their toes because they'd literally died from the cold, talking about eating, 6 breadcrumbs a day and having to ration that out over the course of a whole day. Talking about a whole bunch of very deep, dark shit that we'll hopefully, thankfully, never have to experience.
But I think hearing that, like, say the premise is true that meaning's more important than happiness, and after reading that book, it's like no matter what you go through, you can find something.
Yeah.
No matter how bad things are, you can always find something, which is as more profound as you could ever get.
I think he talks about in the book how plenty of people didn't make it through the Holocaust and through the concentration camps, and because they didn't have meaning. He was saying the ones that did make it through wasn't because they were just hopeful that things were going to turn out rosy. It was just because they found a reason to stick around. They found that meaning.
So that's both our number 1s. Let's go to our next one.
Both our number 1s. We're done. Let's end the episode there. So that was your number 7. My number 7. First time we've had crossover. My number 7 is coming later in your list, and your number 6 is coming later in my list. So my number 6, The Upside of Irrationality, Dan Ariely.
Yeah. We love Dan Ariely. We've got very fond moments of him.
It'd probably be the best story we've got, I reckon, out of the podcast. The Dan Ariely at his hotel room, going to the ballet, getting a kebab, having a cheap red that we thought was a nice, expensive red that he thought was a cheap red. It was probably like, $15, far out. We're really big spenders here.
But he didn't look down on us whatsoever, so we loved Dan. But yeah, I think almost better than his other book, Predictably Irrational. If anyone's interested in behavioral economics, there's no one better to go to really than Dan Ariely in that sense, is there?
In terms of books, I feel like there's plenty of books that are like from the academic person trying to cross over into the popular realm that are like hey, we did this study and these are the findings and this was the outcome and this is how you can apply it to your life. There's plenty of boring, shitty books like that. I feel like he's one of the rare few who's been able to make it an engaging book that, yeah, he talks about the studies he's done, but you really enjoy reading it.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my highlights was the IKEA Effect. It explains so much shit, whether it's me and you doing our podcast and one of us does the notes. I'll tell you what, like,
if you look at these top tens, how many of your top tens were the books that you chose and how many of my top tens were the books that I chose? I reckon they'd be pretty close to 100%.
100% close. And it's probably also related to when we previously now we do more exclusive notes. One person does the notes, one does the other. I think that is also correlated to how exclusive was the note writing to the note loving, to the episode loving as well. Because
Definitely.
the IKEA effect is like,
Definitely.
if one of us constructs the whole bookcase, and then the other person comes up and says, "Oh no," the person who did the bookcase is like, "That's a fucking phenomenal bookcase." But if I do half the bookcase and you come and help for the other half, it's a different measurement, isn't it?
That's right. I wonder how we can counteract the IKEA effect. Or do we just say, okay, let's just go with it? Maybe that's just how it is.
I think we probably recognise and say and try and just mentally counter it.
Yeah, that's right. It's a phenomenal concept, and phenomenal not because it's good, but phenomenal just because it's fucking mind-blowing. Just how much we overrate our own ideas compared to other people's ideas. Like, obviously, the IKEA effect comes from the idea that if you paint a painting, or if the study was you make an origami frog, objectively, your origami frog is probably the same as another amateur's origami frog, and it's both of yours is shitter than a professional's origami frog. But the study found that you'd rather keep the one that you made, even though it looks shitter than the professional origami frog. And that's just like obviously a very cheap and simple example, but it goes to all kinds of things. If it's the dinner that you cook yourself compared to that you heat up in the microwave, or the bookshelf that you put together using the planks of wood compared to the bookshelf that you buy ready-made, like all those things.
You drop in a meeting or something.
And that's probably the more important than the physical things you make, is like the ideas that you have. If there's 6 people around the table coming up with ideas and you come up with an idea, it sounds like the best idea ever. Somebody's idea is probably better than yours.
There's 6 of them. There's 6 ideas dropping there. It's very hard to just say, all right, my idea's ranking maybe second or third out of the 6.
Yeah, so I think there was a powerful eye opener. I feel like me personally, I've even more than the average bias of how good my own shit is compared to everybody else's shit. So that was a good book to read. That's why it's ranking on my list.
Because it'd be very true if your IQ is 130 or what is it, 150?
Oh, more than that.
150 or some shit. Very high.
130.
Very high. And you see all these plebs with IQs of 100 coming up with ideas. It'd be very hard for you to say that idea by probability is stronger than my IQ 150 idea. Is that true? Well, that'd be hard.
Well, exactly. But that's how
Good
much
reason to an extent.
How much of that is like, yeah, it's better, but I think more is the IKEA effect. More is just I think it's better because I came up with it.
But it'd be harder for you to overcome the IKEA effect.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's why I was like, man, this is a powerful book. I really got to keep that in check.
I was surprised to see I'm overstepping here. So that was
my number 6.
Number 5 for me is coming later.
We're getting into our top 5s now, and my number 5 is Humour Seriously by Jennifer Aker and Naomi Bagdonis.
Yeah, well, this changed my perception of humour probably in the workplace, and it sort of probably just makes you recognise that people who can have a sense of humour drop gags, even if they're weak, even if they fall flat and they laugh afterwards. It's a signal of status, isn't
Definitely. Everybody loves laughing. Everybody loves funny things, funny shows, funny movies, listening to funny podcasts, going to watch funny things happen. That's in the personal life, though. We think in the workplace, it's serious, no jokes, no funny. It's got to be all serious all the time. That's not true at all, though, because actually the people who can take the risk, make the shit joke, get a sympathy laugh, are actually the people who are probably at the top of the chain. Like, yeah, the graduates coming in, they're probably not making the gags.
No, they're the ones laughing.
They're the ones giving the shit sympathy laughs to the really weak dad jokes and showing how low status they are.
Even as a grade, you came in and you had a sense of humour, you cracked a weak gag, and then you laughed at yourself or something. So you got a bit of a sense of humour.
That's a good one, laughing at yourself.
You'd be a higher status.
That's right. And so it was all about that, hey, everybody loves jokes or and not even jokes, not like, the 60-minute stand-up routine. It's even just a little bit of lightness. It doesn't have to be all serious all the time. Just a little gag here or there, a little bit of lightness, just lifting the mood for everybody is going to be better for the whole workplace.
Yeah. So it was a good book, man. My number 4 we're getting into now. Deep into the top 5 almost. Enlightenment Now by Steven Pinker. I'll let you hang shit on the book in a second because you hated it.
Yeah, it's not in my top 10, that's for sure.
But I thought this book was all really about perspective, about where we are right now, because it's very hard to, if you just rock up on the planet, you're born and it is what it is. Your worst case of suffering to your biggest case of happiness, that's the range you live in. That's it. Compared to, if you get some sort of perspective about where you are relative to the rest of history, your sort of band of that goes down to where you're suffering, can sort of imagine what it used to be like, because we have never lived in a better time than now in many ways. There are some ways where you could try and argue the opposite, but I think this sort of tears that all down and pulls the pants down of that. Because think about it, like we've done so much cool shit over the ages. Rock up to the supermarket, buy whatever the hell you want. There was a time in history where you were hungry. You'd have to hunt for your food.
Yeah, that's it.
You do a poo in the corner by the tree. Now you just click a button and it vanishes.
It just disappears.
Vanishes. There's a lot of people who solve the problems of pipes, metal engineering, digging, geology, all that sort of shit to make that just vanish. Same with the supermarket. Same with everything. And you just rock up now into the 21st century, you sort of take it for granted.
Yeah. Oh, mate, definitely. Ivan was driving recently. Do you know in the back of, obviously where we live, like the back of Carrum Downs, is the Eastern Treatment Plant. The poo farm.
That stinks, yeah.
But so we were driving past and I said to Alison, I went on like a year 4 excursion to the poo farm and like we went there for a day and stuff. And I was like, oh, this is the treatment plant. This is where all the shit goes.
It's a pretty bad excursion.
Anyway. And she's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, when you flush the toilet, that's where it goes. She's like, oh, what? Where? She didn't even know. She didn't even know there was a place where all the shit from everybody's house
I knew that
all
was a
goes
place.
into the pipes.
It didn't even click in my brain that that's where it goes.
Yeah. All the shit from our area, for a 10-kilometre radius, all goes through the pipes into that one place. And then they look after it. I don't know. I don't know what they do with it, but they do something with it. Yeah. But like she didn't even know. She's like, oh, you just flush a button and it goes away, which I think is a good representation of what you're saying. Like we've got it so good, we don't even know how good we've got it.
That's it, man. It's a big deal. We're demolishing painful infections. I mean, we've got what we've got now, but it's not like it used to be. We've got planes that literally take you to the other side of the world. Didn't used to be like that. You got cheap energy to pop the lights on at 7 p.m. to read the book.
Yeah.
You got the world's knowledge in your pocket, not through Google, but through the What You Learn podcast.
That's right.
Hit on iTunes, you got the whole world's knowledge, full stop.
And give it 5 stars while you're there.
That's it. We're due for a few 5-stars. I think our most recent one was a 1-er.
Oh, really?
Did you see that?
No, I didn't see it.
It said 1 star, the head title.
Yeah.
Best podcast I've heard.
What? Hang on. What's the explanation of this?
Butts. So that was the head title. And then it said butts.
1 star, best podcast I've heard. Yeah.
I remember we were telling you about Acast has been phenomenal supporters of our podcast. But it said, I didn't see the, what was it? The
ExxonMobil.
ExxonMobil. We got ExxonMobil ads in
We didn't
US.
even know they were there.
We didn't even know they were there.
We didn't, it wasn't us talking. It was someone had put that ad on our podcast that we didn't even know about.
Yeah.
And
Hopefully they're listening now and can reverse that one.
Apologies. We didn't know about that one.
Okay.
But yeah, I won't hang shit on the book because it is a good book. The book itself, I was a little bit, I don't know, it just didn't grab me. I was a little bit bored. I'd kind of heard it before. I really liked listening to Pinker on other podcasts. I probably heard a lot of that stuff. And I even listened to another one recently and it was a great app. great content.
It was a thick book.
I gave it a low rating just because I struggled to get through it.
No, I totally get it. It doesn't grab you, the writing. The biggest case of that, or similar but worse of what you're saying, I think, is Bill Gates, which wasn't even an honourable mention. Similar boat, like profound shit.
Important shit as well, yeah.
How to avoid a climate crisis. Covers climate change as good as you could possibly can. Quite irrefutable the way he does it. But the way he writes, it just doesn't pull you in, and just something like that. I don't know. It's just quite disconnected.
It didn't make either of our top tens, and didn't even make our honourable mentions, which is saying a lot as well. The other thing with the old Enlightenment now, when we were on Steve Glaveski's podcast, Future Squared, we were talking about how sometimes books we very much differ. I think maybe you gave it an 8 or a 9. I gave it like a 3. And then I just, basically all I was saying there was I want to plug that I did a song for Steve. After Steve came on our podcast 12 months ago and did a song, and then we went on his and did a song.
That song was phenomenal, man.
I kind of stole
I don't know if anyone's listened. I don't think only when you play with Kevin Rudd, but you can play piano like unbelievably. I think insane.
I think I'm at the point of piano where I can play enough to impress people. If I was like impress the person who doesn't play piano, I don't think I would impress anybody who can really play piano. Would not be impressed. Yeah. But people who can't play piano would be like, oh man.
Well, I wouldn't know the difference between you and probably the
exactly. That's probably where
1%
I'm at.
percentile in the world. Yeah. I wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
I probably am in the top.
So
I probably
1% of players. I was getting
Oh yeah, exactly. I reckon I'm in the top 1% of general population at playing piano. Yeah. Maybe even higher than that. But then in terms of people who actually play piano, wouldn't be close. Like no, I'd be in the bottom 1% almost.
Just claiming, man. You got me fooled.
Mate, what was that? That was your number 4?
Yeah.
My number 4, The Medici Effect. Looking back at this, probably a little bit high on the list. But Franz Johansson, we interviewed him probably in the season 1 or early season 2, we interviewed him about his other book, The Click Moment. When I first read this book, I was like, damn, this guy fucking knows how to write a book. I was like, the opposite of Enlightenment now that we just spoke about, how it was like a good content, but a bit of a trudge to get through, whereas this was like average content, but really delivered well. So I really fell for the Harry Potter effect on this one.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a phenomenal book also. Like it probably would be in my top 10 if you didn't, because I knew you were going to drop it in there. I didn't have it in my top 10.
There's a bit of game theory in our top 10s.
There's so much. I think that's why we've diverted so much, trying to explain it. But like we wrote in our book, there's 2 different ways to approach your career. One is like you go super, super niche. The other one is you sort of combine a different set of skills where you become niche in a very different way, that you're the only one with X, Y, and Z skills that nobody else has. I think this is like the best articulation of that, where it's the intersections that matter. You don't want to just, in your own Venn diagram, if you're just super, super deep in just this one circle, you're better off having like 7 different circles that combine in a meaningful way. You don't want arbitrary... Yeah.
Well, maybe you do, because
water skiing plus piano playing.
Maybe the story you used to set up the book was like the architecture mixed with an interest in fucking the mating of termites or something.
That makes sense, I think.
Do you reckon?
Well, the termites built a structure, right? And that's where they pulled from. But you're pulling it from a very weird
stretch.
I disagree, man. I think it's different to golf and piano.
Golf and piano.
Or water skiing and piano.
I reckon you can link golf and piano. And the reason, and it's probably coming up later, but the inner game of tennis, the bloke who...
Yeah, I get
It's funny how he's literally done the inner game of tennis, the inner game of golf, the inner game of music, and the inner game of skiing. So literally golf and music and golf and piano and skiing and piano, maybe they're not as far apart as you think.
Yeah, I get it. That's good. No, it's a good book though. It really is. If you haven't there's like... We've read that many bloody books now. There's a category of book that you have to read in your top 20. And this is probably in one of those categories, I reckon.
I'd agree. It's probably one of those ones that if you read it early in the journey, it would be an absolute mind blower. Later in the journey, so. Yeah.
That's why I'm always happy to have something like that in here.
It was, and what the I guess what he was saying was all about breaking down the barriers, breaking down that if you got one field and one field only, and you go really deep in that, then your brain just goes down the normal paths that everybody else goes down. If you want to truly innovate and make a step change and make a wild innovation that the world has never seen, you've got to step outside of just the standard ways of thinking. Like everybody thinks tandoori chicken. Like what did I say? Bacon and
cheese, eggs. No, I actually had I had bacon and halloumi this morning.
Oh, jeez. Okay, well there you go. You're outside of what I was just expecting eggs. What about rum and
Coke?
Yeah, salt and
vinegar. Oh, mate, you're seeding me with the first.
That was a that was a Bo Burnham stand-up routine that he did. It was a. You saw where I was going, yeah.
No, I don't get the joke.
You don't get no, neither. No. But anyway, that was just. I just want to slip that in there. Just steal Bo Burnham's material. Let's move on.
There's been 3 gags today where people have dropped, and I just didn't get it at all. And I was laughing at the start, and then I'm like, I came clean. I'm like, I just don't get it.
Mate, maybe you need to reread Humour Seriously because sometimes you just got to laugh along and just give a sympathy laugh.
No, everyone else got it though, except for me. I think I'm smart in some ways. In some niche ways, I'm like as dumb as they get, which I'm happy with.
Mate, you see on the notes where the gag was going. I was setting you up to.
Oh. No, I didn't see that.
Have you got it yet? Have you got what I'm saying?
Okay.
Don't worry. It's not that. It's probably not really 2021 appropriate anyway.
Number 3 for me. Maybe next drink you can tell me what it is after yeah. Number 3, another horrible one for you if you hate it. But Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance by Robert Pietzig or something.
Yeah, Persig, there you go. I wouldn't have got that unless you prompted me.
Mate, as reading it, like you, I think we've been in the same boat. Like, what the fuck are we reading right now?
I had no idea what the hell was going on.
What are we reading right now? And by the end of it, so midway through it, I'm like, Ash, we're not doing this as an episode. No one knows what's going on.
Oh, man,
You finish, you're like, Joey, let's just give up on this one. Nothing's happening.
I was done.
But I think it was, we highlighted some random shit as we did the book. Then I read, like, I probably spent 3 or 4 hours looking at blog posts, looking at different videos on YouTube of people's interpretations. And then I went back to my highlights and I'm like, Jesus, this is
the best book I've ever read.
It's like the author didn't give a shit that you weren't following, but deep beneath it, there was some most profound things. And sometimes I think there's a lot of like probably fiction in general, which neither of us really got into. But if you have to work for what you're trying to learn, your brain is like painfully trying to grasp it. And when it does grasp it, it sticks much better than it would otherwise, I think. And for me, that's what it was like with this book.
What's like the Dan Ariely? It's not really Ikea Effect. Maybe it's a little bit because we kind of like made our own interpretation or put our own spin on it. It's like almost like it's kind of like the endowment effect. Like we had to work so hard to try to understand it that it was like
that's it, man.
That like we work so hard that it's like, wow, this is really profound once you get there.
Well, I think it's that plus like I think curiosity's got a lot to do with it. Like if you get to a point where like you're that endowment effect, you work so hard for it. Plus your curiosity is like at a peak where you're like, what the fuck is this about? What the hell is going on here? You're trying to figure it out. You're on Google blogging stuff, you're YouTubing stuff. And because of that, it might stick a bit better or or the thing is that hard to grasp in everyday language that if someone just says it in passing, that you actually need to work for it to actually get it. I don't know. Do you see what I'm trying to get at?
Nah, that's if I tried to Phaedrus knife to break that down, I'd lose something whilst I was cutting it.
well, I think that's it. I think the Phaedrus knife where you got the classic and romantic in the world. I think we've both probably had these periods, especially like I remember clearly a phase in my life where you'd apply rationality to everything. Like, why is that person kicking a football and just tackling and hugging each other and kicking it through sticks? Or,
you'd say, what a waste of time.
Or look at that art. Like, why? It's like everything's just rationality, but when you apply the Phaedrus knife of rationality, you're dividing in the world into this structure. When you like tap the world, it actually reduces everything. So you are rationality does stuff, but it reduces everything, and you actually make things easier to understand, but at the same time, in doing so, less true about what it actually is, and like probably less beautiful and romantic.
I think you lost me. I need to go back and re-listen to that episode we did, but Yeah,
I was trying to sell you on it
it's
as I was
almost-
saying that. I was looking at you. I was like trying to sell it.
But it's
sell the
almost
book on our
like
show.
it's almost like one of those things. Like, yeah, you're not romantic enough. You've just Phaedrus knifed it. You don't get it, and it's almost like pretending like you get it, but you probably don't really get it. But if the other person doesn't get it, you can just say it's a Phaedrus knife. You don't get it.
Well, not getting it is. Yeah, well, I was about to say not getting it is the point, which is what you were sort of having a go at, right?
It's almost like, oh no, you're not smart enough to get this. If you were smarter, you'd get it. It's almost like the reverse of that. It's like it's just too abstract for you to try to. If you try to understand it, you can't understand it, and if
Correct.
you don't understand it, then you understand it. It's like, what the fuck?
Well, I think that's true. I think that's true. I think there's a category of things that pure rationality and pure understanding is paradoxically not getting it.
Yeah.
Don't let me explain that further
I've
because I don't.
Mate, I've got a question. Is this really your number 3? This is your number 3 book from the last 25 books that we've done or whatever it is?
Probably number 5 now. Would be more than number 5.
How is
It'd be
this?
3.
How is this above Noise that didn't even make either of our top 10s?
Or Man's Search for Meaning.
Exactly.
Man's Search for Meaning's above this one. But
It
no,
just goes
I
to
really, I
show-
really do. I really do
if you
love-
put the rational view, if you tried to use a Phaedrus knife to cut down our top 10 rankings, something will be lost. And that's why this is so high on the rankings, because it blends both the classic and the romantic.
deep shit. We'll go to the next one. I think it's a good book. I really do. I think it's like talking about the higher ground and to rationality. It's so weird. The book. It's but profound. I don't know. There's something about it.
There's definitely something
Maybe
about
I've just been lured into some sort of effect we haven't spoken about, where it's like I don't know what it is, but maybe I've
It's probably some effect where you want to be in. You want to be in on the joke.
Something
You want to
like
be
that,
in on the everybody who know in that inner circle who knows what the fuck Zen and the other motorcycle
inner
maintenance
circle
means.
effect or some shit
You want to be
going
like
on.
I'm in. I know what it
I
means.
get it.
You don't know what it means. You're not in.
And you don't like the book? Oh, you just don't get it.
You
then?
don't get it.
So it's like a cult like or ideological, right? Like
It really is.
if
yeah.
you don't like it, you don't get it.
Don't worry. You never
And
get
then
it.
you
You're
like-
not in. You can't
Then
join
you'll
this
never
crew.
let the person scrutiny come in because you're just branding them as they don't get it. Maybe that's the fortress I've built, and any insults to the book I'm not dropping. Anyway,
Oh, too
there's a bit of
good.
that going on.
That was your number 3. We need to get to my number 3, but we need to also refill these glasses, and also it's time for our next piss, and we're not pissing outside this time. This is an inside piss.
Yeah, correct. Just off the balcony.
We're back in.
Back on, mate. We haven't done a proper ching yet.
Yeah, we did the can. That was a bit shit.
pretty
Hang on,
weak.
let's go closer to the mic.
I think they're just
Just the cups just aren't.
weak cups. They're not glass, I don't think. Are they? These glass?
I don't know. Yeah, they have to be glass, yeah.
Got a bit of a glass thing going about it.
They're two different ones, I reckon.
Number 3? For
My
you.
number 3, Derek Sivers, Your Music and People.
I'll hang
high
shit on
up.
this book in a bit.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, it's pretty high up on my list, actually. But what I really liked about it, obviously, we mentioned music. So it was kind of like the metaphors. He blended music with business. Like if you want to be a musician, how do you turn that into a business? I like business. I like music. So I kind of liked all the metaphors that he used. What I really liked was like we've read a lot of like really hoity-toity, theoretical, high, intellectual sort of marketing books. This was like the fucking down on the ground. You're just one person who doesn't really have a business, doesn't really have a name. You want to get started. You want to get your name. You want to spread whatever you're doing. Like this was through the music, the idea of you're a musician, or you want to sell your CDs, or you want to sell yourself as playing gigs and sell tickets and stuff. I like just the boots on the ground, grassroots marketing aspect compared to there's great marketing books you've read that theory makes sense. This is more just like you're one person on the ground. How do you actually market yourself?
Didn't sell me on the book there, Ashton. But I agree, it's not hoity-toity. It's boots on the ground, but it's boots on the ground blog post.
I've got it, Matt. I've been holding this one. Anyway, we'll come back to this later. But yeah,
We'll come back to it later.
please give your full dig. on the blog post element of the book. Please give it, because it might come back to bite you in about 15 minutes.
Please. That's fine. Now, it's more around, like, it's very rare for us to do the book, read the book, do the notes, review the notes, do the episode, and our whole process, and actually remember nothing about it almost. I remember some vague thing about the book. Very rare these days. Nothing grabbed me afterwards. Now looking back on it and be like, oh, that's what I've actually got nothing.
Interesting.
So that's probably my critique of it. Because usually the book says something, right? Like his other books I actually liked. Both of them. Actually, sorry.
It was the first one we ever did. Anything You Want was the
like
first
that.
ever
In
episode.
the second one, I said I didn't like it, but I remember there was like 2 or 3 good metaphors that we've used a lot, like the horse and the in between water and the desert or whatever. A couple of those sort of things, like land on you. But this one, 0. 0. Anyway. Anyway, you're going to come back on me later, so that's fine.
That wasn't. I wanted you to build something else up, which it didn't work.
Oh, damn it.
So you haven't. I can't get you back.
Is that quite
Tell me
reasonable, what I said?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, let's just pretend I hung shit on blog post stuff.
Tell me about the blog post stuff and why, like, the book of a mix of blog posts. Unleash on that, like, because Derek Sivers writes blog posts. This was kind of like the best of blog posts in regards to music and marketing. Give me that.
I can tell you're going to try and set me up for something. I'll try and play along.
It might pay off in 12
Actually, I don't have that big a deal against it, as long as I'm learning something.
Hang shit on it. So I can,
no.
So I can hang shit
blog
back
post
on
is
you later.
Okay, let's just pretend I did that. But yeah, my idea of a good book, it's like if I learn something from it, like, and double bonus points if I change something from it, better. Even if I learn something profound, like, oh fuck, I never thought about it that way. That's it for me. That's done. I got to think differently after reading a book and putting the effort and the investment into it.
Okay, what about like the one? There's plenty that stick out for me for this one. What about the difference between the starting line and the finishing line?
What do you set me up at?
No, I'm not saying. I was trying to remember if you. I was trying to work out if you remembered it or not.
I don't remember.
He was talking about, like, a lot of musicians view, like, okay, they make their CD, they make their album, they write their song, whatever. They view that as the finish line.
Sorry,
they get it done, and they're like, okay, I've finished my album, I'm done. That's it. Some people though see that the finishing point as the starting line. They're like, okay, I've written the album. Now I need to sell this motherfucker. Now I need to spread the word. Now I need to get people to listen to this.
Yep. No, that's phenomenal. It actually is. I do remember that now.
I think it was very much like us. Yeah, we could have easily gone like, okay, 16 months, we've written the book, game over, done. That's it. The finish line, the book's out. Buy it if you want to buy it. Or we could view it as like, okay, this is a starting point. Here's the product. Now it's our job is to work really hard to spread this out to people.
I do really like that one.
Okay, good.
And I haven't heard that before. I really like that one.
Yeah.
Could have been, like, you might be guilty of this as well, could have been peak Ikea effectiveness, where Ashton brought in this book that's not an Adam Jones book.
Definitely.
It's not in that category. And because of that, I didn't give the book the time, and I probably didn't, because, like, we've probably both got to the point now where when you start reading books, you read a page. All pages are the same, but when you get to where you've read over 300, you got different reading rates. Like if I'm reading a very difficult Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, I'm probably reading at a different rate than you. Like you read this one at a different rate than I did.
That's a good point.
What do you reckon about it?
That's some deep shit, yeah.
I reckon there's something in that.
There's definitely the reading rate. There's like the reading rate, the word by word, really consciously thinking about it versus the scan. Like I'm scanning this
story.
Jonesy picked it. I know I have to read it for the episode. I need to kind of get it. So I'll flick through it and pick up what I need to pick up compared to like really digging deep and going slow through it.
Well, I think that's where the challenge is, because now it's like, all right, especially for those books, all right, Jonesy's going to do the notes and do a good job of it. So then I've got the ability to read a bit faster than I would, because I'm not even interested in this book anyway, and vice versa.
Oh, yeah. Well, like Enlightenment Now, I didn't read the full book. There's also, I think another element of that is like the books there's specific bits of the book that are in the episode and specific bits that aren't in the episode. Like Enlightenment Now, there was like 15 different things, and we picked 4 of them to talk about.
Yeah.
I didn't read the other 11. I read the 4 that we had to talk about. I didn't read the other 11.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it as well.
Yeah, which is rare. But you got that one skip or the scam.
Yeah, that's right.
I think I read Derek Sivers' book pretty quickly here.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a short book, man.
I still read it
quickly. It wouldn't take you about 45 minutes to read it.
I knew I wasn't getting slapped in the face. And I knew Sivers, when I was reading it, I knew it wasn't going to.
Do you reckon there's also the Sivers factor? I did the solo Sivers interview because at the time, we weren't sure what are we doing with the interviews. I was going to do Sivers, you were going to do Jocko.
Yeah.
Jocko dogged us. You didn't end up doing Jocko.
I see where you're going with that. I truly think there's zero in that.
Yeah. If it was me, that would be a factor. I'd believe you when you say that's not a factor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I'd say if it was. But I was actually, when I listened to that, I thought that was a better interview. In most cases, I think it'd be better having us both there.
Yeah.
Like vast majority of cases, but I think for that case, 100% it was better having you there because my curiosity in Sivers is nowhere near what yours was. And that Mindamo map that you had, like mine would have been fucking nothing. So I would have just been wasting time in there and wasting his time, your time, and everyone's time. So
I think that's a pretty like, pretty mature thing to say.
I'll take it, but it's bloody true though. Yeah.
No, but I think it is. Like, I think it's. I probably would be less mature and I'd be more petty, but it's
But I think most. I think that's a rare case. I think most of the time it's better having us both there.
Yeah, I agree.
I think I couldn't think of someone where it's better just me. I'm sure there would be a few.
I think Jocko would be. Jocko was kind of.
I don't reckon, man. No, I don't reckon. I'm not that crazy about Jocko. I'd rather have.
Yeah, that's true.
As I said to you before, you bring a lightness.
I give. I know you said I give the easy giggle to the shit
Correct.
joke. I'll give the lightness. Yeah, I do.
I think that's a big deal, man. I think if me and Jocko were speaking, it would just get Jocko 6 a.m.
You'd be trying to be like, yeah, Jocko, I'm waking up that early too. I'm
trying to do
iron.
shit. Yeah. You'd laugh at Jocko and Jocko would be awkward and he'd start giggling. What's the next one, Ashto?
I don't know. Where are we up to?
Okay, this is a good book, man. Has this come up previous? My number 2, 33 Strategies of War.
This was my number, whatever we skipped previously that was mine. It's coming back now. I think it was my number 7 or 6 or something.
Yeah, but Robert Greene is like, it was coming high for me. Man, I've never really thought about strategy like ever until probably coming across Robert Greene's stuff. Like, how do you handle things? And especially war. Like, the idea that you're going to go into battle with someone and war with someone, the actual idea that's a thing didn't occur to me before reading this. There's been not many times it's happened. It's probably been only 3 times. We're like, all right, that's an enemy. And once you say that's an enemy,
it's like, wartime, baby.
It's wartime, baby. It gets exciting. And then it's like, what do you do about that? That whole entire paradigm was not part of the brain that was a thing, probably for both of us. I don't know if you've had war on people quite explicitly. I had one probably in the last week, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought you were done with... I know there was a period of your life, like, as in, like, recently...
I had a colleague, which is extremely close to it. Not my current job, if anyone, my boss or anyone like that listening, current job. Previous job. But, external person quite recently.
Okay.
Who's got a different perspective on things and is attacking something. And it's like, all right, after reading this book, you've got different strategies about how to attack them back. Probably the most easy one is just to take the moral high ground wherever you are, appeal to teamwork, morality, higher values, whatever it might be. Whatever plane they're playing on, you just take that plane step above. But there's plenty of strategies you can take on to do it. But I think number 1 is having it to declare someone your enemy, right?
Yeah, that's a big one, man. Being like, okay, we're at war. I'm on one side, you're on the other side, you're my enemy, we're going to war. That's a big step.
It's a massive step. And if you don't do it, I think it's a way of life, right? Like, people are doing it unconsciously to you.
Right. Yeah.
And if you're like, I've been in the past, don't know about you, Ashto, but quite like, for me, just like naively just stepping through and someone sort of keeps going bang, 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 attacking you in different ways and you're just being the nice guy. Like, it's time to say, fuck it. We're going to war, baby.
That's right. I really liked. There's a couple of stories. I think the 33 strategies. I think the top 8 or whatever that we covered, I thought they were phenomenal. I felt like some of the others were kind of dropped lower down, which is probably why I had this lower. This is probably like my 5th favorite Robert Greene book, and this is not to say that it's bad. Like 5th favorite Robert Greene is fucking high.
It's very high. Yeah.
It's just like compared to like 48 Laws of Power, Laws of Human Nature, Mastery, Seduction, like it's a hard competition. But I really like the Robert the Bruce, the Scotland dude.
Oh,
I was
yeah,
like, every time England attacked Scotland would fuck him up in subtle, sneaky ways behind him. They'd be like, what the hell is going on? I really like that one. I really liked even the idea of the story of Hitchcock and in his movies, how he got people. He directed his movies not by saying, hey, do this, but by showing them, putting them in a situation where they felt the feeling that they had to feel rather than faking it and acting, but they actually genuinely felt it. Just things like that, about how can you like spread your message to people's mind through an act of war, like, you know, metaphorical war, rather than just saying, hey, do this. So like actually getting behind enemy lines and really infecting people like that. So I thought some of those were phenomenal.
Yeah, and I was going to throw 2 more in there, like Gandhi, someone who you'd think of is the most peaceful person ever, never does war.
You would never relate Gandhi with war.
But in this context, 100%, because he as one person yielded the biggest power you could possibly yield. One human being without any money, any clothes whatsoever, taking the whole entire British Empire and kicking out of the country. In terms of, when you put it in that way, it's like he went to war and he was the most powerful person probably in history. And that was probably related to the moral high ground. Similar sort of thing, like the Cyrus victory?
The Pyrrhic victory, yeah.
Pyrrhic victory. Similar thing, right? Like sometimes you're better off not going to, you're finding ways to go without losing any resources.
Yeah, sometimes you can win, but even if you win and go to war, you still lose, yeah.
Yeah, and number 3 is that person who kicked the oar off the boat and didn't actually go to battle, but found a way to maneuver where the other person's just lost on on an island by themselves, and you know you're moving away without engaging. So it's not always about pulling the sword out and stabbing the other person and shooting them with a shotgun.
That's right. The person who's just going wild on the beach trying to sling their sword around, but there's no one there to fight, and everyone's like, "What are you doing, mate?"
That's it.
And you're just casually rowing your oar. If you haven't listened to the episode, you probably don't know what the fuck we're talking about, but go back and listen.
Everyone
That's
should
a good
listen
story.
to it because
it's a good story.
Like, as I said, I've never thought about strategy ever until coming across Robert Greene. He's a great man. We've spoken to him twice. He didn't remember us the first time.
Do you reckon the next time we speak to him in 3-4 years about his next book, do you reckon he'll remember the first 2?
I think he'll remember the second, because the first one we were just we were pretty weak. And he doesn't like weakness.
It was pretty funny. I reckon if it was me, if I was in that situation,
you'd remember the weakness.
And someone, I wouldn't remember the weakness. But if someone was like, "Oh, we interviewed you 3 years ago," I was like, "Yeah, I remember that. That was great."
He's like, "Oh."
He was like, "What? I don't remember you guys." He just let us have it.
Apologise.
He's like, "Oh, don't remember."
Why the fuck did my publisher get you?
Why did I speak to you guys? Oh, that's funny.
2, you got a strong one here, Ashton.
I've got a strong one. We should do these. I feel like we've gone through the full 10-pack of White Claw's hard seltzers at the moment. I feel like the lower we go, like we get to the more important books, but I'm also less ready to talk about those books just because we've drunk more the whole time we've gone along. But number 2 for me, which was, what number was it for you? It was it was in your top 10.
It was in my top 6 or 7.
Mid-pack, yeah.
Yeah.
The Effective Executive. This was, I reckon, maybe season 2. I reckon it was just when we got these new mics. We'd transitioned to the new mics. We were in Corey's old place in Mentone, and when we recorded that episode, phenomenal book from 50 years ago, where the stuff that he was talking about for office workers 50 years ago is still relevant and probably more relevant today. And that's why I was like, this is a phenomenal book.
Yeah, the focus should be on effectiveness. I mean, there's 5 different practices. Know where your time goes, focus on outward contribution, build on strengths, first things first, make effective decisions. If I'd say the highlight was like a little thing under one of those categories, which is consolidating time, which I've really done a very practical thing that no one's speaking of right now, and I think more relevant than ever, especially in the new world of online, which everyone is, and that is just like consolidating your time. If you got meetings, this is what I've done anyway. It's like stacking meetings on a couple of days a week, and just saying you're not available on Wednesday and Friday. This is what I do. I hope my colleagues aren't listening, because I just say, no, not available Wednesday, not about Friday, no matter what. And then stacking the meetings on the Tuesday and the Thursday. So that day you just rock up, meeting after meeting, you just fucking get them done. But the next day you got 0 meetings and you get the shit we need to get done.
Like meetings, people hang shit on meetings, but yeah, meetings are important. Like just even for personal relationships, even for sharing ideas, even for collaborating. Like, yeah, meetings are important as much as people hang shit on them. But at the same time, if you're meeting every day, you've got 2 1-hour meetings, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, one in the morning. Like you can't really get a whole bunch of shit done. If you can stack meeting, do the important things that you got to do, and then you got a full day clear to actually do important work where you get down and dirty, work hard. The important work, it takes time, it takes focus. Give yourself a lot of free time where you're not trying to switch between tasks and actually achieve important things.
Yeah, 100%. I think we're focusing a lot on the meeting shit here, which isn't relevant to everyone. But like, if I just got one half an hour one for the whole entire day at 10 till 10:30, that will, for some reason, affect my whole day compared to having that, bump the day next. It does. If you got the full day ahead, it's all right.
I've got my meeting at 10. Okay, meeting's at 10. Maybe I'm starting at 8:30 or 9. I can't really get into this big task because I know I'm going to have to stop to go to this meeting. Even though the meeting's only 30 minutes, it's kind of killed 3 hours worth of time because you're like,
the full
you
day,
can't start stuff because of the meeting. You can't after the meeting. You're kind of thinking about the meeting afterwards, so you can't really start till later on. And then in the afternoon, you're probably more effective in the morning anyway. So it's like it's kind of killed a whole day.
Yeah, that's it. So I don't know if that is getting at, but that's what I took away. Sounds like you got a lot out of one as well, Ashton. Decisions is also a big one. It's, I think, by far, because like you just roll through the motions. When decisions pop up, you make a decision, you move on. But when you think about it reflectively, your decisions really decide where your whole entire life goes. And we don't put the time into it. We probably should be spending a lot of time on big decisions.
That's right.
Days.
Exactly. I think a lot of people, and when I say a lot of people, like everyone, including you and I, like we just think, okay, here's the decision, we'll make the decision, let's just go with it. We probably don't put enough time into preparing for that decision, into making a genuine, proper decision. We probably think, okay, an executive, they make decisions, let's decide quick and move on. But we don't really, there's probably implications beyond that we haven't even considered yet. Yeah.
There's a lot to making a decision.
Well, that was my number 2. We're about to get into our number 1s. And I don't know what it is about you, Jonesy, but whenever I'm with you, I need to piss probably 4 times more regularly than I normally do. So let's have a quick pause before we get into our respective number 1s. Mate, we're back in. I don't know mate, what is it? I reckon if you compared say we record on Saturday mornings, compare the Saturday morning pisses per hour compared to a normal Monday to Sunday pisses per hour.
I don't know.
It's like 6x, I reckon.
Something to do with the I don't know.
A lot of coffees, a lot of waters. In this case, a lot of seltzers, a lot of Johnny Reds.
We drink a lot. There's a lot of fluid drinking, so that probably explains it. So that's my number 1.
What's your number 1? We haven't got to your number 1 yet.
Have we?
That was my number 2.
Yeah. So up to my number 1.
We're up to your number 1.
Yeah. Number 1 for me, the Almanac of Naval. Didn't get in your top 10. However,
it wasn't in my top 10. Wasn't in my honourables either.
There you go. But, mate, I think it is probably hands down not a better book when it comes to how to make money. Out of all the books that we've come across. Like, the book came in 3 parts, but in this specific topic, which most people around the world are somewhat interested in, there's 3 different parts to that. Number 1 is specific knowledge, which is pretty much is what most of our books are focused on, like whether it be outliers, whether it be building a skill stack, Medici effect, all that sort of stuff. Like, how do you have some sort of scarcity that creates value in the marketplace, and other people like that, so they pay you more money.
Yep.
I think the other 2 parts are probably Well, the second part comes across in other books to some extent, like leverage. Like if you can leverage things, you're going to get more money. Like a couple hundred years ago, it was all about labor. If you could have a workforce of a couple hundred people, that's your form of leverage, and you're probably going to be the richest person in the planet.
Mm-hmm.
The second form of leverage was leveraging money, like your Warren Buffetts and whatnot, who a couple of generations before us. They managed money. They leveraged that in the best possible way out of anybody else. And because of that, they were the richest people of that generation. Now, the next form of leverage which is the form we're in right now, which is products. And this is where you got the zero products with no marginal costs of replication. So you build it online. I think Ferris sort of gets with that in his books, and Taleb as well. But this is like your books, your media, your movies, and probably most importantly, the code. The richest people in the world right now are through that code. Zero cost to replicate code. And because of that, Facebook, when you get a new user, costs them zero money.
Yep.
For when we wrote our book, costs us zero money. After you've written the book once, it doesn't cost any more to write it for the additional people.
Yeah, it's the same amount of effort for us to, if one person buys it or a billion people buy it, it's the same effort.
Exactly. So I think if someone wants to make money, you cycle through those three things. Simple as that. You go, all right, what can I optimize on? It's, all right, can I get more specific knowledge that nobody else knows that is scarce in the marketplace?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, can't do that. Can I do leverage? Can I leverage people? Can I leverage... Oh, sorry, I haven't got to the third one. The three forms of leverage. Or third, which is probably doesn't get spoken about in books, it is accountability, right? Like if you got Skin in the Game, which is a book that's about to come out.
That's an coming soon.
You got things on the line. When you go into business, you can go bankrupt. Or, if you're accountable for what you're doing, there's a high value in that as well. And a lot of that time is doing business. I'd say my previous role was a half government funded role. And because of that, there's zero accountability in that. There's less money in that compared to being in the private sector where you can fail if you're accountable for what you do and you fail and you lose for it. And that's where it's sort of like if you launch a business, you're accountable for what you do. You're going to get full skin in the game. And because of that, you're going to get paid better for it as well.
I like it.
I went deep on that.
That stuff's great, man. That's phenomenal. I don't know why I didn't have this higher up in my list.
Well, as you were saying, for some reason you didn't like that some other bloke wrote it for him.
Okay, this is what I was... This is the payoff from the Sivers chat that didn't ever pay off. I wanted you to be like, Sivers, fucking all this was blog posts that he'd already put up on his website, and then all he did was fucking take those blog posts and put it into a book and print them off, which I 100% agree with. Mate, this is even beyond that. This is like fucking some other dude listened to fucking Naval on a podcast and was like, I'm going to turn this into a book. It's not even him.
Reading his tweets.
Fucking copy-pasting his tweets into a book. That's what I wanted the payoff to be. But honestly, this is my own irrationality. If this had been the Almanac of Naval written by Naval Ravikant, it would be a great book. But this is the Almanac of Naval written by fucking Eric Jorgensen.
Yeah, Eric York.
So because of that, it lost 3 out of 10
exactly
at least.
Me and Siv is right. You probably read it a bit quicker. A bit more scanny, bit more Jones is picking it up because he's
like,
doing the notes.
What's the tweet? Oh, here's the tweet. Okay, this is... Because all he did was like, okay, this Eric Jorgensen, I'm sure that, mate, good on him. People love this book. All he's done is like, okay, here's what Naval said on a podcast, here's what he said in his tweet, here's what he said in a blog post, and put them all together and was like, here's a book.
Well, mate,
written by Naval, but really it's me writing Naval stuff.
Well, that metaphor blew me away, and I think it could be taken to any industry where it's like, if you're in the construction sector, if you're a subbie compared to if you're managing the subbies compared to if you're managing the subbies, every time you're growing in terms of your accountability. And then, if you're someone who comes in and then you find a way to disrupt the construction sector with a line of code that takes on accountability, that has the leverage and specific. That's how people become billionaires.
Agreed.
We're not going to be a billionaire, Ashton. It could be. Like, you could be. Maybe. Who knows? But I think if we are, 100% is because you're tapping into these three things. 100%. Even if you're rich, you're at least tapping into one of them.
Yeah. Okay, I like it. I like it. It didn't make my list. And probably the core information should have. My own irrationality, the packaging didn't do it for me. I probably should have. I probably should bump it up higher.
I'll take that. I loved your number one hero, show.
Mate, my number one, The Inner Game of Tennis. And, mate, this one fucking blew me away. When I was reading this was the first time I was like, wow, this is a book that's blown me away for the first time in a long time. We've read a fucking lot of books, both of us.
Yeah.
And, early on, the first 10 books probably all blew me away. Probably then 10 of the next 30 probably blew me away. It's been a long time since I've been fucking blown away by a book, but this was the one that really fucking got me. This blew me away.
That's it. Like I totally agree, but not for myself. It's like anyone who's an elite performer at anything, like Corey, who's a ballet dancer, or anyone who has to get on stage and whatever it might be. For some people in their careers, public speaking, where you've got a moment, like you got to own sort of thing. This is the book for that sort of person. And there's so many people who haven't come across this idea who are that type of career. But that's for the elite performer. But obviously you could apply it to, ourselves or whatever you might be doing.
Mate, there was two things I wanted to... Mate, I hold shit in my brain. One was the comment on the Derek Sivers book. This is just nice blog post, not really a book, which I kind of agree with, but I wanted to kind of counter you with the Naval book. Like, it's one step below blog post. It's somebody else's blog post.
Yeah.
The other one was you're like, this is a great book for peak performers. I probably kind of disagree with that a little bit. I feel like it's kind of like learning a new skill for the first time as well. He talks about the inner game of tennis. So there's an outer game and an inner game. The outer game, if you're playing tennis, the game is against the opponent. You're scoring points. You're hitting back and forth. You want to beat the other person. The inner game is a game you're playing in your own brain. That's the game where you try to hit a forehand with that extra bit of topspin into the back far corner to really hit that winner. And because your brain really wants to do it, you're thinking about it so much, you probably fuck it up.
Yeah.
You probably tighten the bicep a little too much. You probably turn the wrist a little bit too much. And because the two people within yourself, he calls it the self one and the self two, the teller and the doer. Your brain is telling your wrist to turn over to give that extra bit of topspin. It's telling your fingers to grip the racket tighter to really smack this really hard. Compared to the doer, which is actually the person inside of you doing it, which I think is like the inner game. It's the battle between your brain telling your body what to do. Your body knows what to do. Your brain can't actually do anything. But that's kind of the dichotomy there.
Absolutely. Well, it's the two cells. Yeah, I think like for me personally, and maybe yourself, Asho, maybe you've got the confidence as soon as you walk on the dance floor. But I think it's exactly that.
I definitely don't.
Maybe for you and everyone else then. But when you go onto the dance floor at the start, you're dead sober. You got yourself one is saying, what are you doing there? Just your arms moving up and down, your legs
why is that
twitching.
hip moving off to the left so much? Why is that foot
that's
over
one,
in
right?
that pointing in that direction? Yeah.
That's self one.
Yeah.
You're thinking about what you're doing.
Yeah.
Apply that to when you're trying to do that in a professional context, whatever it might be, trying to hit the golf ball or something. You're thinking. Compared to that when you're 10 beers deep, I don't think you have to be 10 beers deep for self two to kill it. But right, like self two.
So alcohol is one way to turn off self one, yeah.
When you not thinking about it, you're just in the zone and you're just doing it. And
That's right.
the way you dance when you're just in the zone, it's just completely different. Like I don't know if you've probably seen a few more wild, great dance moves, actually.
I've seen back in September 2016, 0 alcohol was involved with this, and you were full self two, no self one. Your brain wasn't telling your body what to do. Your body was just doing it. We're at the Tony Robbins, Unleash the Power Within. You were just you literally fucking ripped your shirt in half. You opened up, you were just fucking grooving. Arms are going everywhere, hips are going everywhere, chest was going everywhere. And Tony was like, yeah, he's got it.
He pointed at me. Robbins
he pointed to you. He was like, he's got it. That was full self two. 0 alcohol. But you switched off self one and you were in the fucking moment. You were in the zone.
And I had the man, Robbo. But there's a lot in that one. I do love that book, Asho.
Yeah.
I think it's for everyone.
I think it helped. I read this coinciding at a time where I kind of rekindled an interest in tennis. In my early days, I made top 16 of nationals in a tennis competition. Papua New Guinea nationals. Top 16. I won one game to make it through to the top 16. That
sucks.
There was 32 people in the tournament.
Oh, God.
Made top 16 of national. Anyway, so I got back into tennis over lockdown.
There wasn't there. Had me covered.
There wasn't much that we could do during lockdown, but tennis eventually was one thing we could do. So I kind of had I reignited my interest in tennis. So the metaphor of tennis made sense, but I think if you read it as a metaphorical tennis, and you can apply that tennis to anything, dancing, public speaking, learning any new skill, learning to draw, learning to speak, learning to write, whatever it is, any new skill that you want to pick up, I think the metaphorical tennis is phenomenal.
True for everyone. I think when you read the book, whatever it is for you, dancing's one for me. I think table tennis. I remember when I was in Spain, there was a camp I was staying at, and it was boozy every day. Like you're blind, there's free booze, all that sort of stuff. And I remember just hitting this zone of table tennis where I was unbeatable for 3 days because I was just like, wasn't even thinking. I was just flowing.
Full self-2.
Pure. I've never been in a bigger self-2 moment than, I think it was Cadiz or something. It was like a mountain at a camp or something. Anyway, never been close to that. But when I was reading that book, I was like, that explains sort of why I was good at table tennis that time.
Interesting. I like it. So this is a full 10 out of 10 for me, full blow away. As I mentioned earlier,
probably the highest combined rating, actually, I'd say.
Pretty high, yeah.
Well,
from this season,
8 plus 10.
Yeah, from this season, yeah, agree.
Yeah.
The guy kind of went into Timothy Galway. He was kind of like, okay, I fucking nailed this tennis. It was a real black swan of really good book. Okay, tennis is one thing. What other rich, old, privileged white guy sports can I do? So he wrote the inner game of golf, the inner game of skiing, the inner game of music.
Proper just
explore, exploit. He exploited.
Do you just sub out words there, Ashton? I've read his other ones.
I'm reading the inner game of golf right now.
Just subbing out words,
mate. It's literally he went through the book and he was like, Control F. Tennis replace with golf.
I think it's Control R. I think that's a new thing. You can Control replace. Hit print.
Tennis with golf. And then sold another couple of million books. No, but the inner game of golf is fantastic. I'm currently going through a golf addiction. I would say it's at addiction level. It's multiple times a week, going to the golf course in the middle of the workday, playing golf, trying to improve golf.
Is your boss listening right now, Asher?
Well, thankfully, my number 2 book, The Effective Executive, I've kind of structured my day in a way that I get effective and they can release some time for golf. But without doubt, the times that you think about hitting a drive off the tee as hard as you possibly can, that's self-one, the brain saying, hit it hard, fucking smack this motherfucker, is going to be the worst drive that you ever do.
Well,
if your brain is telling your body what to do.
Got the army of people watching you.
That's right. Compare that to the time where your brain is not thinking, your brain is occupied. You're looking at the blade of grass and how that blade of grass is blowing in the wind next to the ball, and your body feels it, and you just smack it, 250 meters straight, clean down the fairway.
How many times have you
my
done
record
that?
My record was 204 meters so far.
So you've never done that?
Not 250. I've done 204.
Someone else did though.
Someone could hit at 250 using the inner game of golf. But I think it's just that was like the one different outside of the realm. After reading 300 books, I didn't think I'd be blown away. This was a blowawayer.
Yeah. No, I like it. I'm keen to play golf, man. I'm keen to get on it.
Mate, let's get on it.
For one, it's one of those things I've never really gotten into, but I'm keen. I like the idea of just walking around hitting the ball.
I don't want to go too deep into golf, but I've in the last 6 weeks developed some kind of weird addiction to golf, and I've also sucked 3 other blokes into my vortex, and you could be the 4th. I've had 3 other people I've played golf with who instantly got addicted. Just walking around. You're in nature, you're in grass, sun's shining. You're not thinking about too much else. You're just trying to hit it. It's really hard to do. It's easy to do okay. It's really hard to do really well. Like, it's a big learning curve, and I don't know. I'm
going to come in and smack it. Too much on the inner game of golf here, but I did have one game. It was my 3rd game ever. It wasn't that long. It was at someone else's Bucks, and I fucking I smacked it. I was like, what the hell? But that day, and then I tried to replicate the day, and I sucked. but I was full in a game for one day.
This is one specific story, but literally on Tuesday this week, I went and played, and there was nobody else on the course. It was like 13 degrees and almost about to rain, and I was like, this is the perfect time for me to, as a shit beginner, to go play golf because nobody else is going to be there. The course was empty. On the fourth hole, I reckon I hit at least 7 times off the tee, trying to drive it really far in the middle of nowhere. Some went 3 meters to my left, some went 30 meters to my right, some went just dribbled in front, some went backwards. I don't even know how they went backwards. And I was running around picking up all these balls, and the fucking groundsman on his tractor drove over and sat there and was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I just had to run around and pick up all my balls." I had a few cracks at it. He's like, "You know what? I'm going to sit here. I'm going to give you a bit of mental pressure and see how you go." And it could have gone one of two ways. It could have been the worst drive I ever did or the best drive I ever did. Became the best. Just smacked it clean, straight, dead straight, 204 meters, par 4, managed to birdie it.
Well, there you go, mate. After that 10 minutes of talking about in a game of golf, you just disproved it by having the pressure of System 2 being everything. So there you go. That's a good wrap-up of this disclaiming the number one.
Debunking the book.
Debunking the whole entire book. Mate, so it's...
we've got through it.
I think it was really strong 10, man.
It's ridiculous that normally, obviously there's 2 people, 10 each. Normally we have about 13 or 14 books, as in like there's a lot of crossover and a few extras. This is what we did, 16 or 18 different books between the two of us for our 10. Not a lot of crossover, but all very, very strong.
Yeah, 100%. Mate, I see you've got the next list coming through. I don't think we go through it. I think it's just exciting and when they pop up.
We leave the cliffhanger of we've planned out what you 2 years ago branded launch month. We've got launch month coming up. There's a phenomenal list of books coming up for launch month.
Yeah. Well, we can drop a couple, can we? Categories. I think you probably predict the categories.
Okay. Obviously, launch month, the idea is we kind of want to... What's the main things? New Year's resolutions. What does everyone want to do? It's a bit of money, bit of health, bit of career, bit of general personal development stuff, bit of relationship stuff, bit of business stuff.
Bit of business stuff. Bit of everything, which is what our podcast covers, I'd say. It's quite profound. I think we've got some great, some phenomenal books coming up. Like I know you were saying before you haven't been slapped across the face by in a game of tennis or something like that in a while, but maybe not slapped in the face, but I think I'm still not getting weakened by the books I'm reading.
There's some face slappers coming.
Yeah. Well, not necessarily face slap, but still like every book I read, there's still so many books I'm like just that engaged where you're just learning that much shit that it's like, it's not, you think it's diminishing returns and then you keep reading and it's still going at a somewhat linear direction.
I would agree. And one specific example, productivity. You know, we've done all the best productivity books there are. The Effective Executive, obviously, that we just spoke about. Eat That Frog, The One Thing, Getting Things Done, all these productivity books. I was like, you know what? We've read pretty much everything there is to read about productivity. I'll make a prediction. Come best of season 6 in May coming up, next year. I reckon my number 1 could be a productivity book.
Have I read it
yet? Yeah, you've read it.
What is it?
I don't want to spoil it. That's a cliffhanger. But I reckon now my number 1 for next best of could be a productivity book, even though I thought I'd read everything there was about productivity.
Jesus.
Mate, it's on this list. Look at the third thing down on our notes right now.
Ah, okay. I like it.
You've read it.
I like it.
In fact, we may have already recorded the episode.
Oh, God. There you go. That's a good one, man. Equally, geez, look at that list. There's some bloody good books coming up. So listen in. Please give us a 5-star review. Drop that person who said the best podcast I ever listened to.
But still
1 star.
star.
Let's just get rid of that bloke. Leave us some reviews. Go out and buy our book. It's still the best product that we've ever put together. It's more expensive than most books you'll buy, admittedly, but we'll stand behind and say it's going to be worth it.
Agreed. theshittheynevertaughtyou.com or whatyoullearn.com/theshit. Buy it
selling well,
books.
and we're getting the feedback that it's more so than what we hoped it would be. It's the best 115 books out of, everyone knows we've read a lot of bloody books, and we've put in our own style in putting our own anecdotes. So it's very easy to digest and everything like that. So yeah, even if you want to support the podcast, that's how you can do it. Go and buy the book for yourself or someone else. Other than that, what else you got to drop for us, Asher? What other wisdom bombs?
That was it. I was just thinking, we finished off the White Claws, the Johnny Red. There's like a quarter of a standard drink left. I reckon it's time for a burger in a casino and then see where the night takes us.
Let's go and celebrate.
Party time!
Yeah.